Yeah, I feel like men say that they want a woman who's like, a virgin, they want to marry a virgin, but then it's like those same guys will go for a beautiful young woman regardless of how many partners she's had.
Welcome back to Other People's Lives. I'm Joe Santagato.
I'm Greg Dybec.
For anyone out there that would like to be a guest on our show, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Our email is oplpodcast@gmail.com. Just hit us up and we will get back to you.
Yeah, today we're speaking to a woman who reached out, and I want to read a piece of her email. And it says, I am a 27-year-old virgin who's afraid to lose it. I notice online and offline many men saying they want a modest, shy, quiet, virgin type of woman, but in real life they don't. They go after the super pretty women who are willing. I'm in good shape, I have a job, but finding love is impossible as a virgin at this age. I feel like a female incel. And we're going to jump into those thoughts and what it means to be a female incel, have those feelings, and just kind of talk about the community around female incels. I think it's something that is typically associated to men. So this will be an interesting take. And we've got the guests on the line. Thank you so much for being on today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I enjoy watching the podcast and learning about other people's lives, so I'm glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, appreciate that. Well, now you're a guest, so full circle. And can we just start off? Can you just kind of go into a little more detail about some of those feelings that you mentioned in your email? I think before we get to the word incel specifically in that community, just like the thoughts and feelings around being a virgin at this age. I think you said 27.
I just feel like it's not normal to be a virgin at this age. I've definitely had like a hard time, dealing with it. Like growing up, it was kind of like praised to be a virgin as a woman, but after like a certain age, it's kind of like, kind of weird. But not really getting along with men sometimes definitely prevents you from losing your virginity.
Why do you think that you don't really get along with men?
I think it's a lot of like deep like resentment, not like hate. Like I don't like feel any violence towards them or anything, but like I just have a lot of like resentment, like why even bother, things like that.
And you think that stems from just like because you're not sexually active that you have resentment towards them?
Not just that, but like having a hard time like finding love and like dating and things like that.
Mm-hmm. So are you, I guess the term incel, like are you now, oh wait, sorry. So incel is involuntarily celibate?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was going to say voluntary for some reason. That makes no sense.
That would just be celibate.
Right. But have you had relationships with men before?
Yeah, I've had two boyfriends. They've both lasted about a year.
And at no point during that did you feel like you were ready to become sexually active?
Yeah, and I feel like that also contributed to like the relationship falling apart, which is kind of like upsetting. And I think led me to where I am today.
Got it. And I guess, I mean, you had said when you're younger, you kind of wear it like a badge of honor, like it's a nice thing to be a virgin. But at what point do you think it became, okay, this isn't that anymore? Like how old were you when you feel like that there was that shift?
Definitely recently, like especially like when doctors ask like, oh, are you sexually active? They used to say, oh, good for you. And now it's like, oh, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of funny, but people stop like congratulating you. They're kind of like, oh, you're weird,
What age did that change occur where, so you were in two relationships where you didn't feel ready to be sexually active. And then I guess how many years or how much time has it been that you felt that you do want to be sexually active? You just haven't been able to be.
Probably just a couple years, like age 25, 26.
And you haven't had relationships since then?
Nope, not since then.
Have you attempted?
I've tried a little bit, but not like as hard as I probably could have tried. And it just kind of fell through the cracks each time.
So what do you kind of attribute to the resentment? I know that, we can kind of pinpoint like, okay, like not being sexually active and, that kind of plays a role, but like what specifically, like, do you think it is the man's fault?
Not his fault per se, but I feel like a majority of men like value youth and beauty. And I feel like that's a lot of where my resentment comes from.
Is that they value...
Like I feel like, yeah, sorry.
I was just gonna say that they value youth. But you said you're 27 years old?
Yeah.
So you don't think that you're youthful?
Relatively youthful.
Yeah. And I mean, and also like you said, I mean, because I mean, we're all on the internet, so we all consume that content as well. But yeah, there's a lot of guys saying they would prefer a woman who has not been touched or, you know, anything like that. But you feel like the actual reality is that men don't like that.
Yeah, I feel like men say that they want a woman who's like, you know, a virgin, they want to marry a virgin, but then it's like those same guys will go for a beautiful young woman regardless of how many partners she's had. Like that's something I noticed like in real life and online.
Have you had experiences with men that you told them that you're a virgin and they have some sort of like aversion to that?
Thankfully, no. I try not to tell men too much. I do have the conversation a lot with women though, but not too many like guys.
You said in the email, you said that you try not to hate men, but you feel like you do. And it's an internal struggle that you imagine male incels struggle with as well. And then you say, I've truly accepted the fact I'll be single and a virgin for life, despite having a decent paying job and being physically fit. I'm not bad looking, but not particularly attractive. What stands out, I mean, Joe and I are both over 30. Like we feel like we're talking to someone that is very young, like in like prime of their youth potentially. Like to like make that statement that you've accepted that for life as a 27-year-old that you're going to be a virgin and be single. Like, why do you believe that to be the case?
I just noticed more like, I don't even know how to describe it, like more and more like men my age are just kind of like gravitating more towards this, like, have you ever heard of, like the red pill culture and things like that?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like what I notice a lot of like men are like believing in and like they're joining groups like that. And I just feel like if that continues, I'm just like never gonna, you know, find love or anything.
Is this something you're actually experiencing in reality, or is it like what you've kind of consumed online? Because I also see it online, but I mean, personally speaking, I don't know a lot of people who actually like say the shit that I hear online, or like I don't see it really put into practice as much as I see like
what's an example like in
just
the red
like
pill
guys saying that like you know they would like you see like those red pill guys where they're saying like they'd rather a woman who has never had sex with anyone or maybe had sex with one person and you know she's 20 years old or she's 21 years old, like talking about like that specific age group, a woman who hasn't had sex at all and is around 21 years old. I get why women would feel like, oh, okay, I'm old and haggard because I'm 27, which is just like not reality from my experience. But I'm that's why I'm asking. In your experience, is that something that you kind of see like in the real world? Like if you go outside and you see people like kind of acting this way, or do you think that you know it's just what you see online has kind of warped your perception?
So majority of it is definitely online, but unfortunately I have seen it offline as well. So I work in a male dominated job and I work with men of all different age groups. And I have a lot of stories about that.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear them sort of speaking the same way as like you've seen online.
Some of them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I wonder how much of that is truth versus just like toxic masculinity of, you know, trying to show off for other guys.
Yeah, I mean
that's true. It could be that.
Do you? So I mean, how much of you actually believes that, like, you know, I'll never be able to find, you know, this like love? I mean, I think that, you know, if a judge, I mean, I don't know you personally, and I only know like we've only been talking for a few minutes. But do you think that this sort of definitive decision that you've made of like I'm not going to find love, I'm going to be a virgin forever, like? Do you think that the world you're actually right about the world, or that thing that you've decided is sort of the reason why there's sort of this block? And I mean, I imagine it would be hard to connect to any man, regardless of, you know, how they act or who they are as a person, if you feel this way towards all men.
Sure. I definitely feel like that, like resentment I have is like definitely going to impact it. And I'm very open-minded. I've been trying to, you know, get over it. And, you know, it's like an internal struggle.
Can you talk about that a little? Like we've had male incels on the show and we've been able to dive into that mindset a bit, but you know, from your perspective, identifying as a female incel, can you just sort of define what that hate and resentment is exactly?
Um, Honestly, just not being, attractive, cute, and bubbly, and like what guys tend to go for and want. It's kind of the same thing as like, male incels when they look at, they call them like chads. It's kind of like it's kind
Oh,
of how I feel too. It's
interesting.
like, yeah,
So is
it's
there
kind
a
of like
term for
reversed.
that for like female incels?
None that I've seen.
Interesting. So there's like a resentment toward men, but is there also a resentment toward women who seem to fit that stereotype that you believe men want?
So some women like on like, forums and pages call them pick me girls. I personally, I don't mind them. I know like a lot of women do like, have resentment towards those women as well.
Okay. So what are some of the things like within this community that or that I guess I have resonated with you? Like you start to have these feelings, you kind of come to this conclusion that you think you might be single and a virgin forever. I'm assuming you find things online like forums, other people talking about this. Like what are some of the things that are being said and shared, within this female incel community that you latched onto?
So a lot of what's shared in the female like community is like incel posts that talk about how a woman hits the wall at age 25 or age 30. Just a bunch of stuff like that, whether it's memes, posts, or screenshots of comments, or even personal text messages. I've seen those too. So those usually resonate with me.
Resonate in terms of what, like just fueling and anger?
Not anger, but just like a sense of like giving up. Like I don't want to even bother dating.
Okay, so just like an acceptance that this is what the landscape's like and there's no place in it
Yes,
for
yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Do you think that you need to be in a relationship?
Um, I don't think so. It would be nice, but you know,
I'm asking because if you don't necessarily need that, where does the resentment lie? Because I'm sure there are women in the world that are like, honestly, I don't blame, women for having this opinion at all. Like, I think that there's a lot of content out there that even I see and I'm like, bro, I would not date any of these people. And it's like, if I suddenly think that like, this is where the world is going, this is how people are talking, how they're acting, like, fuck that. I don't even want to be with these people. Like, how come that is, is there a response in you where it's like, I'm making the decision. I'm not an incel. I'm celibate because none of these people like deserve it. Like, that's why I'm asking, like, do you think you need to be in a relationship? Because I'm sure there's women out there that make the decision of like, I'm not going to get with any of these guys because I don't think that they're good enough for me. But it sounds like you're hearing people talk about like women hit the wall when they're 25, which my opinion is flat out ridiculous. But like, what part of you is taking that as fact and not necessarily being like, that's a ridiculous statement and I don't even want to be with these people anyway?
that's a tough one because like I know like not every man thinks like that, thank God. But it just feels like I see a lot of men encouraging like Leonardo DiCaprio when he dumps his girlfriend at like age 25 and things like that. So I just like I see that all the time.
Yeah, and I also think there's a decent amount of people who are like, this guy looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
That if anything, like, I feel like I personally see more of that online of people like making the joke of like, yeah, she's 24, so she's too old now for Leonardo DiCaprio. But like, everyone's kind of looking at that. Like, memes are funny, but at the end of the day, it's like, it's a little strange that you keep doing that. So yeah, I guess what I'm asking is, where does the resentment lie? Because if those are the type of men that are out there and that you've sort of interacted with, it seems like that would, the decision would come from you rather than them not making it like a pass at you. You're kind of like, I don't even want those people. I don't want to be around someone who they're 30 and want to date a 19-year-old. Like, I don't want to be around that anyway.
No, it's true. It's definitely like, it's not like I think like, there's the guys aren't good enough for me, but I do kind of like that's where like that kind of like just I think I'm gonna be single and a virgin for life. It's because I just feel like there's no point of even trying anymore.
Why do you think that there is no point though?
Yeah, isn't there potentially hope? Like you just said before, I believe, like that you do know not every guy thinks that way. So is there hope in yes, maybe it's a challenge and an obstacle, but actually finding that person you can connect with that doesn't have that thought process and doesn't act that way or believe that women hit a wall at 25 and someone that would actually want to be with you for you.
And you don't have to have you don't have to have an answer to that. You don't have to have an answer to that at all. I think, we're just trying to understand, where sort of the resentment sort of lies, like what is the reason why you have given up? Do you think that you've tried over and over and it's just not working out? So you're kind of like, I'm just giving up, or are you just seeing stuff online and then saying, well, no one will ever want me anyway, and that's why I'm not trying?
I feel like a lot of it is the stuff I see online, but it's also like I overhear my male coworkers' conversations. I hear them talking, things like that. And it's just, even when like I think somebody's a good guy, I'll overhear something, or even if they say something, it's like, holy crap. And it's kind of like, kind of heartbreaking. Mm-hmm. Not even like a romantic sense, but like, if I think someone's a good person and I hear them talking to their pal about something kind of, messed up, it's just, kind of like makes you, kind of reinforces those thoughts.
What do you think like your ideal man would kind of be like?
Definitely empathetic, like emotionally intelligent. Other than that, I don't really know. Yeah. Someone I connect with, I guess.
Sure. I mean, but you think that when you say that you've kind of given up on the idea of being in a relationship or having sex for the rest of your life, aren't you kind of blocking that? Like, there is no chance for it if you're like, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, that's where a lot of the internal struggle comes from too. Like, I'm trying to like not give up and feel like this. I feel like a lot of it too is like the things I see online. Like, I should probably get out of those groups and, try to reevaluate myself.
Have you sort of, joined in on these forums of other women who kind of feel the same way that you do?
Yeah.
Like, you'll write and kind of express your feelings and speak to other people in this community?
Yep. Or like I'll comment under like what they already wrote.
Mm-hmm. But you said to yourself, like, not all men think that way. And of course there are people that get into a ton of people that I know have gotten into relationships in their 30s. And some of them go on to get married. Some people get divorced and they get into relationships in their 40s and 50s. If that's a possibility, is that not enough hope for you to just kind of, I guess, keep your head in the game?
Well, that definitely gives me hope. I feel like, I don't know how, but like I definitely started thinking like, oh, I'm getting closer to 30 and I'm single, and, I just kind of, that thought just kind of spirals.
Yeah. And look, I think we feel for you. And I think, at the end of the day, like, a lot of our perception of the world at large is like our environment, the people we interact with. Like, if you're in a position where these men in this business that you're in are, maybe they truly are these people that you're seeing reflected online. And that's obviously not someone that you'd want to be with. And it's understandable that if you're constantly exposed to that will shape your view. I think what's hard, and, like we hear this, and I think we're pushing with these questions because it's sad for us to hear it. We're older than you. And not saying like you're sad necessarily, but it's sad when someone makes such a definitive choice at such a young age and has this sort of concrete belief that it might not work out for them. And that's sad for us to hear. But I think, we understand that if this is your experiences and these are the people you're with, I think that even the scary part of all this, though, is reinforcing it with everything that's online. Like, that's scary because that's not the real world. Like, the men that you interact with at work, they might be those men, but not all men are. And then to think that those are the men you're seeing at work, and then you're going online sort of intentionally to a place that's only going to highlight other men like this and give concrete examples. I could see how that would have such an effect on your mind and your perspective and put you in this place of, well, maybe all men are like that, or maybe it's just so few and far in between that, the odds of me actually meeting someone that I like is impossible. And it's scary because I guess how damaging that can be, just the narratives that take shape online and social media and all these things.
Agree. I completely agree because like I feel like it's almost like confirmation bias. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it's kind of like when you not necessarily look up, but you kind of gravitate towards information that already confirms your beliefs.
Exactly.
I know male incels deal with this as well, and you just kind of like go down that rabbit hole, and it's tough to dig yourself out sometimes.
Yeah, and we've seen like the last incel we spoke to on the show. I know that was a frustrating conversation for Joe and I because the belief had become so ingrained in this person, like that, you know, to hear you say like you're open-minded and there could be hope is promising, I think, because that last person we spoke to was like, this is it. Like he just thought women operated like it was high school, like no matter what. I think he was even a little older too. And it felt like there was no hope talking to that person, that it would almost be impossible to ever change his mind or perspective. And it just becomes such a crazy conversation because you're like, I know women. Like, are you saying my wife is like this? My sister, my friend? Like, this is not all women, but you cannot get through to this person. And it's scary to think that anyone can get to that point.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I've seen that episode.
We're going to take a super quick break because this episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Do you find yourself comparing your life to others? Do you maybe scroll through social media and see people that seemingly have it all together, life figured out, super happy, fit, rich, whatever it looks like? The truth is it's a highlight reel. And sometimes we know that it's a highlight reel. We know it's not real, but it's still impossible not to compare our situation or our lives to what we see on social media. It's very easy to envy other people's lives, and it's very easy to think that people have it together or aren't struggling when they actually are. And the great thing about therapy is that it can help you focus on what you actually want instead of focusing on what other people have. It's a way to really start living your best life. This is something that I've definitely personally struggled with, whether it be comparison to others or just overthinking or over worrying about what people think about me. There's definitely something called the spotlight effect, which makes you think that other people are thinking about you, judging you, critiquing you way more than they actually are. Because the truth is, most of us are really just concerned about ourselves. But therapy has been a great way for me to navigate this and to honestly just care less about what other people think about me. And making progress in that area of my life has honestly been so freeing and has helped me be able to focus on so many more things. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, you should definitely give BetterHelp a try. BetterHelp is entirely online, so it's designed to be extremely flexible and fit into whatever your schedule may be. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire, and then you will get matched up with a professional licensed therapist, and you can even switch therapists anytime you like. So stop comparing and start focusing with BetterHelp. You can visit betterhelp.com/OPL and you can get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/OPL, and you can get 10% off your first month. Give that a try. This episode is sponsored by ZBiotics, one of my favorite products to talk about. When I tell people about this, it blows their mind because if they don't know that this product exists, it's honestly a game changer for a lot of people. ZBiotics is a pre-alcohol probiotic drink, and it's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. This is something that you take before you go out for a night of drinking. And it was invented by PhD scientists to tackle the rough mornings after drinking. Something that this guy has struggled with in my older age. The truth is that when you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. And it's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. So ZBiotics produces an enzyme that breaks this byproduct down. So if you remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night, and of course, drink responsibly, then you will feel your best tomorrow. Every time I have Z-Biotics before drinks, I honestly notice a difference the next day. I can plan on waking up fresher. I can plan on being productive when I know that I've had Z-Biotics. Recently, I think you guys know, if you follow the Basement Yard podcast, which falls under the Santagato Studios umbrella here, we've been on tour. So we've been going out, we've been having late nights. Sometimes we do things after the show that could mean starting to have drinks at 10, 11 p.m. Z-Biotics is coming on the road with us, and it's helped a lot. We have some back-to-back shows coming up for the first time. So knowing that we have this ready to go and to help just makes me feel more confident that we're going to be super productive and feel good the next morning, even if we're up late or having some late drinks the night before. There's so much going on this summer, so head to zbiotics.com/OPL and you can get 15% off your first order when you use OPL at checkout. Vacations, weddings, birthdays, reunions, whatever it may be. A lot of opportunities to have drinks if you do drink. So Z-Biotics is definitely something that you want to try out. They're also backed by a 100% money back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. And that is zbiotics.com/OPL. Use the code OPL at checkout for 15% off. And thanks to Z-Biotics for sponsoring this episode and our good times.
And I mean, just to back up a little bit too, can you kind of talk about, you know, your past relationships, I guess, like what were you think the reason why those relationships ended was because you were not ready to be sexually active?
Yeah, especially the second one. Like the first one was just a high school boyfriend, so we weren't really sexually active anyways, other than like holding hands and kissing and stuff. Mm-hmm. But the second one I had in college, and he was like great. Like I still think about him to this day. But like after a year, I remember like he just kept like asking, and then I'd like slowly like not want to hang out with him. I'd like avoid him, and then we just kind of broke up. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that definitely led to that.
Right. And you think that was like the start of this feeling of like, oh, this is what men are like?
Not necessarily like with him, because I feel like he was just a really good person. And people were always telling me like, oh, he's a good guy because he waited that long, and like I kind of felt some guilt because I didn't do it, even though I wasn't ready.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't mean for this to be a disrespectful question or anything, but if you feel you are ready now, would you ever go out of your way to try to connect with someone just on a sexual level, like to lose your virginity and, like without considering, emotions or a potential relationship behind that?
That's a tough one. I'd probably not like want to be in like a relationship.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
And so right now you're not really dating or trying to see anybody?
Yeah, no, not at all.
But if you have I guess like if you have some sort of resentment towards men and like this is how men are, how do I frame this? I don't know how to like really ask this question, but if you're not dating right now, then is there a reason for resentment? Because that's a decision that you're making. So it's not really involuntary. It's kind of like, yeah, I'm just not going to date men. I don't think that men right now are, good guys. So, like I think the way that it's framed with like incel is kind of like, I'm good, but there's a problem with the other people and they should want me, but they don't. But it just sounds like you're like, no, they're not good. The shit that I see of like, these guys are not good guys and this is what, whatever. It sounds like you're just being celibate. It doesn't necessarily mean that like you could be frustrated with men. I mean, I'm frustrated with men. So like, like you could be frustrated with men and still feel like the prize in the way, which you should. And if they're not good enough, then there shouldn't be this, it shouldn't be like an incel thing. You know what I mean? Like in my opinion, just from hearing, your perspective so far, it kind of feels like, yeah, I just don't like men right now. And I don't want attention from those types of guys. So I'm completely shutting off my emotional availability. Is that accurate?
That's pretty accurate.
I do get though, like it seems, from this conversation that like, yeah, I think what Joe said would be an ideal mentality, but it seems like you really hold this like weight because you're a virgin as well. And like you are almost considering yourself tainted in a way, which we obviously don't believe is the case, but.
Yeah. Just kind of like not normal. Like it's not like tainted, but just like weird, strange, like something might be wrong with me.
Mm-hmm. Which to like Joe's point, I guess could be a block of like just kind of getting that self-confidence in yourself. Like, no, I am the prize. And like, I am, I could find the right person, or I am choosing this.
You made the decision to not have sex with your college boyfriend. Somebody wanted you, someone was with you who you described as like a good guy. He wanted to take a step that you weren't ready for, and it didn't end up working out, but it's not like you're not, wanted. You're kind of controlling that in a way, it sounds like. Like, I think in a way, what I'm trying to say is I don't know if you're giving yourself enough credit here. Like it's not that people don't want you. It's just that you're not like, it sounds like when you describe the internal struggle, it's like, well, I wasn't ready to have sex at a certain point, and then it just feels like it didn't happen. So now I think something's wrong with me. One, by the way, nothing wrong with that at all. And I mean, even as you said, like you see content online of people being like, this is what they prefer. So definitely not an issue there. But yeah, I think that like, I understand what that would do to your mentality and why there would be this internal struggle to feel like, well, I'm weird because I'm not like everyone else and I wasn't, whatever. But you made that decision. So it's not weird. This is just like you're going at your own pace. You're in complete control. It's not men who are like not choosing you or like, whatever. You're like, I wasn't ready to have sex. And at that point, and then I started seeing men just sort of acting strange and like being like, oh, we want a freshly 18 girl who like has no body hair or has never had sex before. And you're like, what the fuck? Like that. Definitely, I'm not that. So I don't want to even associate with those types of people. So there is this like struggle where it's kind of like, I don't like that type of person. And I wasn't ready to have sex at a certain point. So like, yeah, it's a little, I don't know if strange is the right word. I think unique that you're 27 years old and still a virgin, but I don't think that would be like the make or break for the type of person it sounds like you would want. The only characteristic that you said that you were interested in is emotional maturity, and someone who's emotionally mature would be like, yeah, that's fine, like whatever. So I guess all that to say, I don't think that you've given yourself enough credit. It's not that you're not liked. It's just, it's difficult to get to a certain spot and feel like, oh, well, the internet is telling me that I'm expiring, which is ridiculous. And I don't feel like I'm expiring, and I've like made these decisions, but because of that, I'm just going to be not emotionally available. But at the same time, it's sort of shutting you off to the thing that would make all of this go away. Because if you were emotionally available and did meet someone and you seem like you're ready to, be in a relationship and lose your virginity to that person, there's still hope there.
Yeah, there's definitely still some hope. And I do feel like a lot of it too is like, confidence issues.
Yeah. And also, I don't know if this helps or not, and I probably speak for Joe here. I think it's awesome that you knew you weren't ready, even though you were in a relationship and people were ready to have sex, but you weren't. That's amazing that you knew yourself and knew what you wanted or didn't want at that time.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So what do you think? Like, I mean, do you like 100% of you believes though that like, yeah, I'm not doing this. Like, this is just going to be my life for the rest of time.
It's tough because, like I said, I want to be like open-minded, and if I do get into a relationship, I want it to be like natural. Like kind of like we meet and then we just kind of like click right away. I don't want to have to like go online, go on like dating apps and
I was going to ask if you would potentially put yourself out there, in that way, just to try to meet people and interact with different people and kind of see. But I guess the answer is no.
I guess a lot of people do online dating now, so I guess if I'm ever like really ready, I'll give it a shot.
I'm curious, like for anyone listening, we understand the struggle that you're having. I think you've made that clear, but you do seem self-aware as well and kind of understanding the damage that intentionally diving deep into these communities and this narrative could cause. So even though you're in it now, you're actively participating as a female incel, but are you able to say to people listening, like what the dangers of that are? Does that make
definitely.
sense?
Like, for whether you're a man or a woman in those communities, it can just, some people are very extreme with it. There's a lot of like misandry on it. I've never heard that word before.
What is that again?
Some women, misandry or a misandrist. It's like the opposite of like misogyny.
Oh, yes.
So basically just like some women are just like really extreme with like their hatred of men and like all men, and just, I've seen some things I definitely don't agree with on those sites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What is sort of like the most extreme version of this mindset? Like what is like the core belief?
Like the core belief? Probably just that like all like men like deep down have like that red pill incel type beliefs.
Okay. Like any man, even if that person was talking to me and Joe right now, like they would never, like they believe deep down inside, like this is who all men are. It just all comes down to that same, like whatever you call it.
Yeah. Like women like that probably wouldn't even like go on a podcast to talk about it. Like they're very closed-minded.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. So, I mean, so at this point, like how often are you like on these sort of forums, and like, do you have like friends who you've shared this opinion with or that feel the same in real life?
A few friends. Yeah.
Are any of them in relationships?
One is, yes.
Okay. So when you express this to them, what do they usually say?
They're usually a little concerned.
In what way?
Some of them agree with like some of the things that are posted and like some of the things that are talked about, though.
Well, how do you feel about your friend's like boyfriend?
I don't know. I don't really have an opinion, to be honest. She seems happy, so I'm, quite happy for her.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I mean, we appreciate you, being so honest about your opinion, and I get it. Like, I definitely get why this happens, and I even get why, younger men become shit people because of the internet. Like, I definitely, like, you see all of it, and everyone just like, I don't know, they're just misguided.
Yeah. And
like,
I get the pull of it, even though in total disagreement with any of these communities, and kind of perpetuating that. It's validation for someone that's going through something, or if it catches a person at the right time in their life, or, in the wrong time in this case, where they maybe are having self-doubt or something like that. It becomes, like you said, confirmation bias. It becomes sort of an instant validation. It even becomes like that you're able to say, it's not me, it's them, and almost kind of be a victim of this greater thing. And like, once you get that sort of injection of that validation, I can see why it would be so hard to pull away from. Like, even in your position, kind of knowing there's the extremes there, not agreeing with anything, but it seems like you're still getting pulled back consistently, just for that sense of community alone. And
it's tough because you go you look for like support, because you see other things or you experience other things, and you go to these communities for support, and then it's just, you can get like sucked in very, very easily. Mm-hmm. And I've been slowly like digging my way out, and it's definitely worth it.
Well, that's good to hear. And I think, before we wrap up, that's kind of a good place to end too. Like, struggle is the right word, because I don't think we're speaking to someone who is so fully ingrained in this mindset that it's just, there's no getting through, or that you're even 1000% convinced that you will truly end up alone or a virgin. Like, you're actively struggling with this. So I guess going forward, what do you think is the best case scenario for you, or what are some things you might try to, maybe separate from that community a little, or try to just alter your own mindset or just, find a little sliver of hope in all of this?
I definitely need to like limit my consumption of the, those groups that I see online. Things I'm thinking about trying, I don't really know. I guess just like hoping if the right person comes along and we click that, things work out. But I don't think I'm going to like actively go out and try dating apps or anything anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, we wish you the best of luck. We hope it works out and you get, whatever you're sort of searching for. But yeah, we appreciate you coming on and being so honest with us.
Yeah, no, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you. And like Joe said, best of luck with everything. And we truly do hope it works out. And I think to go back to something Joe said in the middle, like we hope that you give yourself the credit that you deserve in all of this. And, hopefully that, and like you said, confidence, like hopefully finding the self-confidence and maybe becoming a little more open to the possibility that you could meet someone. It seems like that's usually the recipe for, then actually meeting someone and things working out. So we're hoping for that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Like I said earlier in the episode, I think this does make a lot of sense. I mean, this is like one of my worries about, the world and everything, especially like the way that like content has gone. Like it was silly for a little bit, but now it's kind of like, for some reason at the forefront is like relationships and sex is like the biggest topic to talk about. And the only way that you can figure out how the world, quote unquote, feels about these things is when someone interviews someone stumbling out of a club at 2:30 a.m. in Miami, which is like not the place to fucking do that. But that's all that you're seeing is like, and it's the same way that like CNN and Fox News kind of go about the news and has divided the country is like completely biased. These people are just trying to have clicks and they're just trying to, disrupt because, disruption causes conversation in their comment section and likes and money ultimately. And so people have no interest in like the real answer. So if someone is just like, yeah, I don't care how much a guy makes, it's fine. And that could be 8 people out of 10, but those 2 people that are like, who are drunk and like, probably, maybe some of them are fucking joking. I'd be like, I need a guy who makes $500,000 a year. Then you put that online and that just makes men go, look at women, bro. They need someone who makes $500,000 a year. Like these people are gold diggers. They're this, they're that. And that really does damage to a younger generation is that this is all they know. This is all they see. And maybe their parents are fucking lazy and don't instill like reality into these kids. So they live online. This is all they know. Of course, that's going to happen the opposite way where, there are these men that are like, women are supposed to just cook, clean, and blow me and then have children by 23. Otherwise, they're old and haggard and they're like ran through and this and that. But then on the opposite end, if you're 28 and you're a virgin, now you're weird. Now it's like there is no winning there. And like these dudes are doing the same shit just for money, for clicks, being, for shock value and all this shit. But it's really doing irreversible damage to people. And it makes sense why women are like, now I'm being told that I'm going to be completely useless in the dating market right now and definitely as I get older. So every single day I'm creeping towards just being alone for the rest of my life at 27. Like, what are we talking about? This isn't the real world. This isn't the real world. Like, this is not what happens out there. This is just what you see online, and these people are creating a world that doesn't exist for money. They don't care about the irreversible damage it's doing to society. They just want to make $1. And of course, that's easier said than done, that you have to just get that out of your mind and go out into the world without any of these biases that have now been created by these morons, these money-hungry morons. You have to go out there into the dating pool and hope to God that someone else is as smart as you and can get rid of all that shit and you guys can have an actual relationship, which right now seems fucking impossible. So I don't even know if it's actually going to work out. Sorry, but like, that's the reality. The reality is it's not the real world, and don't let these morons dictate the way that you go about finding love, please.
That was fucking awesome. clip that whole thing and play it on every fucking TV set across the world. That was awesome, man. Like, honestly, yeah. And look, the saddest part of all of this is when it just starts to like degrade someone's self-worth. The thing coming through their screen just degrades their self-worth and makes them question the person they are, the value they have. It's just one of the saddest things. Like, I know how frustrating these conversations are. It's one of the saddest things. We just talked to a 27-year-old who has given up on sex and finding a relationship. That's insane.
Yeah.
And like, we're not even blaming her necessarily. It's not even as simple as like, that's stupid. Don't think that way. Think this other way. It's like, no, you're just getting force fed this fucking belief. Fuck.
And also what that also does is like, it also creates a overreaction to that, because I believe that you should always think that like, I know who I am and I am a prize to somebody. Am I the greatest person in the world? No. Am I the best looking? Am I the most successful? Am I, whatever? No, I'm not. But I know that what I have to offer somebody, I have shit to offer people. And when men go on the internet and say these hurtful things of like, a girl needs to be 21 years old, no body hair, no bodies, this and that, and blah, 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 and just cook, clean, and shut the fuck up. Women, some women have an overcorrection where they go, fuck that. Like, I'm a 10, I deserve this, and I want you to pay for my vacations, and I want to blah, blah, blah. And then what happens is they take those women and highlight those and say, this is what women think. That's why we think. No, that is a fucking reaction to this psychosis here. Or maybe they're happening simultaneously, but they're both adding fuel to each other's fire, where obviously it's also ridiculous that a woman would be like, I'm not dating anyone unless they make over $500,000 a year and can take care of this and pay all my bills and do this and that. Like, maybe that works for some people and whatever, but for the majority, women are not fucking like that. Like, that's not what it is. But men decide, we're going to take this woman who we've pissed off, so now she's reacting to us pissing us off, and we're just going to be like, this is what women are. See? And now they get to now they have a fucking person to point to get these fucking 17-year-olds to be like, this is how women are. Save all your money. Don't date women. Don't trust them because this is how they are. They're just out for your money. They're just out, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. There's no winning,
and
bro.
then the trickle down. I feel like we should have a whiteboard. Like, it's just like
the strings
this, and then that. But then the trickle down is like what we're talking about now. Now there's a community. Now there's a name. Yeah. It's incel. It's female incel. It's like, now I identify as this thing. This is my character. This is who I am. And she said confirmation bias. I'm just going to go to this place with like-minded people who have shut their mind off to any other reality or any hope and just pour fuel on that fire. Yeah. And just like, how then do you pull yourself out to find a new mindset or find hope? Because every day you're just like, oh yes, everyone agrees. This is my community. Like, men suck. All men are like that. All women are like this, whatever it is. Then there's just no hope.
Yeah, and it's difficult, but you also have to tell yourself, like, you are number one to somebody. You are the best thing in the world to somebody. You will be to somebody. And the sooner you realize that, because you're comparing yourself to the entire world. No one thinks that they're the best person. Everyone has insecurities. Everyone has other people they can point to and be like, oh, I wish I had that, or I wish I had. Like, as soon as you realize you're number one to somebody, I feel like it's impossible to be an incel, because you're not involuntarily celibate. You are making the decision of like, if these people don't want me, I obviously don't want them. And if these people are interested in a 19-year-old who's never had sex before and has no body hair and, all this shit, I'm not that, so I don't want to be with those people anyway. That's you making that decision. It's not that all men don't want you. It's you don't want those men. And the opposite as well. So for men being like, oh, women who just want someone who makes $500,000 and will pay for all these trips and, wears fucking full Gucci fucking sweatsuits and shit. Like, I'm not that. I don't want to be with those women anyway. It's not that I'm not good enough for women. I'm not what this person wants. So as soon as you realize whatever I have to offer is the best thing for somebody, the sooner you realize, like, all I have to do is keep being myself. I will find that person.
That's where the power is.
As soon as you feel like I have to impress that person who has unrealistic expectations and who also, like, is shitty, like, anyone who fucking says those things seriously is a psychopath. as soon as you realize I don't have to be anybody, I could just be this, and that's going to be the number one thing and the best thing for somebody. If you are authentic, you will find someone, and you will be like, but you have to be emotionally available as well. That's the caveat. This is all very insanely hard to do.
That's also an entire metaphor for just social media. Even like zoom out of just the dating pool. It's the same thing. Like the question ultimately is like, who are you trying to impress? Like whose standards are you trying to meet?
Yeah.
Because those people that you see online, that's not real.
Right.
Social media in general isn't real. House, car, money, whatever. Like these standards, this isn't the real world. But these are the things we're getting pulled to feel like we need to meet.
Yeah. But also, you don't want those people. So why are we trying to impress those people? A woman who goes online and says, I need a guy to make $500,000 and whatever. Even if you make $400 million, if you're like, that is not who I'm interested in at all. What am I going to try and impress that person? I'm trying to impress a person that even if they were impressed with me, I don't even want. Like, you forget about that part. You like, everyone is like, becoming insecure because it's like people want this type of guy. But if you were to impress that person, would you want them? No.
Yeah, where's your own standards?
Yeah, you have your own standards. Like even if that person was impressed by you, you're going to want them. You want to be with a woman or a man who wants you for your money or just because of the way you look. You don't want that. Like think about that part because I know it's easy to feel insecure because I don't have those things yet. But think about like if you did. Do you want a person who thinks that way? Fucking no. So fuck them. I'm not even trying to impress them. Who cares? Like let the idiots fucking play games with each other. That's fine. You're not. It's not even a game you're trying to play. It's not the dating pool. It's those people like doing whatever the hell, like being whatever. Like those are the people that you don't want. So don't even try to impress them. All right, I'm starting to sweat. Yeah. Oh man.
Thank you to our guest who was on 3 hours ago.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. We appreciate her coming on Being Honest. But for anyone out there that would like to come on the show, hit us up. Our email is oplpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, be on our show. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok @OPL Podcast. You can support the show at OPL Show, patreon.com/OPL Show. Wow.
Yeah.
It's hot in here.
It is hot in here. But yeah, that is all. See you guys next time.